What's up, Pitchsiders? Yes, that is the new nickname that I'm going to be talking about to you whenever I'm doing this podcast or any other content really on the channel. Yes, Pitchsiders, get used to that. And welcome to another episode of the podcast. Like, share, comment on this video, of course, subscribe to the channel, most importantly. If you're new on YouTube, for enable notifications for the updates of these episodes of the podcast and other content on the channel. Of course, listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. And you can find us on social media. I'm at SidePSP on Twitter and BitchSidepod on Instagram. Time for the news roundup, and the starter is from Spain as Barcelona's dire financial state gets worse and worse by the day. The club have not paid their first team players their entire salary. It's worth remembering that Blaugrana have a debt of 1.173 billion euros, which is 703 million euros are short-term debt, which means they need to be paid this year. Cadena Cope reported that the club owe parts of the players' salaries, and one of those is Lionel Messi. Barcelona should have paid him 72 million euros before the end of January, yet only 8.5 million euros have been paid, meaning the club owe him 63.5 million euros across salary and image rights. A few weeks ago, the Barcelona squad reached an agreement to defer part of the season's earning over the next few years. This saved the club 172 million euros. In fact, the agreement affected all the players in the squad, including Messi. The four did not affect are those that recently penned a new contract, which are Gerard Piqué, Clément Lenglet, Marc-André ter Stegen, and Frankie de Jong. Just a few days ago, of course, it emerged that the club failed to pay money owed to B team players, which was eventually paid. All of this is happening in the midst of a very, very big crisis, more aggravated by the leak of the Messi contract exposed by El Mundo, showing that he put pen to paper on a deal worth 555 million euros over the course of the full season. This is just bad news and bad PR for Barcelona anyway. To England now, and Liverpool have been really, and I mean really busy over the last 24 hours. They signed two defenders, and the start is for Ben Davies. Ben Davies coming from Preston North End on a long-term deal. The Reds paid just 500,000 euros to bring the 25-year-old Davies to Anfield, with his contract at Preston up at the end of the season. Klopp said about the transfer on Liverpool's website that what he likes about Ben is just shows that each situation creates opportunities. I think it's probably clear that in a normal transfer window, without any issues, we would not look at Preston if there's a player for us or something like that. It's not really likely, but since we saw him and since our situation got clearer and clearer, the problems we had when we saw him, we got really excited about it and tonight and thought, wow. He's a boy who played his whole life at Preston, around the corner pretty much. We see the potential really, we see the quality and we see the potential as well, because he's 25 and there's a lot to come for him. They didn't just sign Ben Davies though, they also signed Ozan Kabak coming in from Schalke on loan till the end of the season for Liverpool, of course, with an obligation to buy for the Turkish international. He was a beacon of light really in Schalke's very, very bad season and very bad year as of 2020. He's one of their few best players, and I think he's worth the transfer. He's been linked with Liverpool for a long time, and he finally received the transfer he needs to. Liverpool, again, as I mentioned, very, very active during the last 24 hours, and their former player now, or their player on loan really, Kagome Minamino went to Southampton on loan until the end of the season, with the Japanese forward barely featuring for the parent club and finalising his switch late on transfer deadline day after passing a medical. Surely he's going to be a starter for the club for the rest of the season. It looked like though he may be given more chances to impress, of course, after scoring and being part of the 7-0 drubbing against Crystal Palace, but it wasn't the case. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, and he struggled to make any appearances, only coming off the bench as an 84th minute sub in the FA Cup win over Aston Villa's under-23. Talking about some financial still in the transfer window really, and the deadline day done deals, and Shkodran Mustafi moves from Arsenal to Schalke. Of course, Cenk Tosun moves from Everton to Besiktas. Demarai Gray from Leicester City to Bayer Leverkusen. Not a lot of big deals really happening. Gerald Deulofeu from Watford to Udinese. Said Brahma's deal to West Ham made permanent. Just Lingard, of course, to West Ham on loan. These are probably the biggest sort of deals that happened in the transfer window, aside of course from Ozan Kabak and Liverpool and Ben Davies going to Liverpool. Quite a busy deadline day, although no big names, to be fair, nothing on big names, but certainly a transfer window and a deadline day that is worth looking at. And finishing some transfer window, of course, for Bayern Munich's transfer windows, as usual. David Alaba almost certain to leave Bayern Munich, reveals Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. I don't know how is that new, really, because it has been easily clear that David Alaba is going to be leaving Bayern. Chris Richards, the right back, is going to be loaned to Hoffenheim until the end of the 2020-2021 season in order to gain some minutes, of course. The 20-year-old is not seeing a lot of opportunities with the current Bundesliga champions, and the team has decided to loan him to Hoffenheim for the remainder of the season. The deal was announced on Monday, and Hoffenheim will not have the option to buy Richard at the end of loan. The 20-year-old made his debut with FC Bayern on 20 June 2020 when they defeated Freiburg 3-1 in the Bundesliga. In his second year with the first team, Richards has 3 appearances in the Bundesliga in the season, and he has an appearance in the Champions League for Bayern this season, with the first assist coming in his first start when they defeated Hertha Berlin 4-3 back in October. Again, his last game for the current champions was on December 5th when he came as a substitute against RB Leipzig, and now he's going to have the opportunity to gain some minutes with Hoffenheim, who are currently 12th with 10 points away from the last Europa League qualification spot. So it is February now, it's the 2nd of February, and February is a month that is characterized by 3 things mainly. Having the coldest weather of the whole year, pretty much. Also being the month where there is, St. Valentine's Day, whatever that is. And of course, the biggest characteristic of that is the fact that the Champions League returns on that month, and it's returning with a bang. The round of 16 is upon us, and I decided to take an early, pretty far look from my point of view to those 8 matches in the Champions League round of 16. Unless you're living under a rock, here's a reminder of the games that are going to be taking place. Barcelona are going to be facing PSG. That is going to be on February 16th. Leipzig-Leverkusen are going to be facing Liverpool and Liverpool are going to be facing also on 16th of February. Sevilla facing Dortmund on February 17th. Porto facing Juventus on February 17th. On the 23rd of February, Lazio facing Bayern Munich, and Atletico Madrid facing Chelsea. On the February 24th, it is Atalanta versus Real Madrid, and Borussia Mönchengladbach facing Manchester City. And the second legs, of course, are going to be Dortmund, Sevilla, Juventus, Porto on March 9th. March 10th, PSG, Barcelona, Liverpool, Leipzig. March 16th, City, Gladbach, and Real Madrid, Atalanta. Chelsea, Atletico, and Bayern, Lazio are on match day on March 17th. Pretty much a full month really for Bayern, almost between the first leg and the second leg. So we're going through match by match really, and we're going to just try and see how things stand at the moment in the Champions League. Barcelona and PSG, of course, this is a game that I think it's getting more balanced by the hour. First when the draw came out, everybody thought, well, Barcelona are too bad and it couldn't happen, can it? They can't go through PSG, and certainly, PSG are stronger. Barcelona were in a dire situation, both financially and on the pitch, and there was a situation with Messi leaving, and there's still the rumours persist that Messi is going to be leaving to PSG, so we don't know exactly what is going to happen in that. So, judging on the form of them back in December, back in whatever, PSG were in a better situation to go through, and certainly it was about maybe 70-30 in favour of PSG to win. But now with Barcelona's recent wins, I'm not going to say recent form because the wins are not exactly that convincing. I'm saying in the recent form, PSG's recent form in the league. They're really regressing in the league. They just lost to Lorient. They just lost Lorient 3-2 in Ligue 1. And their place to win the title is pretty much in big jeopardy this season, relatively and surprisingly. It is in jeopardy, to win the league once again. Lille are above them, 3 points above them. Olympique Lyonnais are 1 point above them, and not just that. There is Monaco behind them, 42 points. They could even steal a third place from them, which is very likely. Also, it's very likely that PSG will return and make some surge and win the title, but from the looks of it, it will be harder than normal for PSG. I mean, surprisingly, the French league became so competitive this season when most of the other leagues didn't became competitive because, I mean, probably in Germany it's done. In England, it's still some shred of competitiveness. In Spain, I think it's done pretty much. So, when France becomes a competitive league, something is wrong with the world. So, again, Barcelona, judging on their recent form at least, they couldn't stand a chance for the win before. Maybe now they will have more chances, with the team starting to look like a proper team, starting to have a proper shape, players starting to grow more into their roles, the likes of De Jong and Pedri. Messi returning to somewhat of a normal level of his, because he has been underwhelming for 2020, and, the word underwhelming for Messi is, quite a big word when you say it on someone like Lionel Messi, who made 22 assists and scored 20 goals and, done almost everything in football like he normally does. But Barcelona as a whole haven't been good as a team, so that affects him. I will say, if I'm going to make a prediction now, I'm locking in my prediction, which of course I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be returning and revisiting the Champions League to preview it once again once the games are upon us. I'm going to say probably I'm going to give PSG. Still, I'm going to give PSG because, again, Barcelona didn't look convincing for me, but it's not that big of a margin. I would say maybe a 60-40, a 55-45 kind of deal. Not exactly swinging all the way in favour of PSG, because that is going to be, a very unjust to Barcelona, who have Messi, and Messi is not any player. 55% to 45% in favour of PSG, I would say it probably makes sense. Leipzig versus Liverpool, a tactical masterclass between Jurgen Klopp and Julian Nagelsmann, pretty expected really. And again, this is a one where, judging by the form of both clubs in December or maybe late November, probably I would say it's even, and it's pretty even. It's still pretty even really, but the fact that Liverpool returned to scoring form, they bought 2 centre-halves now. They're probably going to be using them even more, adding them to the European list, obviously. Maybe they will, they will start against Leipzig. I'm sure of that. At least one of them should be starting in Davis or Kabak. Probably Kabak is going to be the one starting ahead of Davis, despite the fact that he is on loan, but because he is, an option to buy and he's pretty high rated compared to Davis, he's going to be probably starting against Leipzig. Leipzig problems are in scoring. Liverpool's problem are in defending. It seems a game that writes itself really. It's a game that, the scenarios is going to be. Can Liverpool overcome the defensive problems, and can Leipzig overcome their attacking problems? Because since Timo Werner left, they haven't found a proper striker that would kick the ball into the net for them. And they tried Emil Forsberg, tried Danny Olmo, they tried Christopher Nkunku. None of them is a striker, of course. They have Sorloth, and he's not working. Justin Kluivert is not doing well as well. Yusuf Poulsen is on pretty much the shelf, really, with Leipzig. So if they could overcome their offensive problems and take advantage of Liverpool's defensive problems, that would be good. If they couldn't take advantage of that, and Liverpool turned the heat, and the front three started working brilliantly, and they have a full-on midfield to rely upon, I think this is going to be as tough a game for Leipzig as anything. And this will be Leipzig's toughest game of the season if we discount Bayern Munich. So nothing really to write off in this tie, and certainly again it's going to be a tactical masterpiece to enjoy. Just watch and learn young coaches how tactics are done when Jurgen Klopp and Julian Nagelsmann meet on the day. Sevilla versus Dortmund. I think this is a game that I'm going to be quite biased into at the moment. I'm going to be just saying quick things about it. In my opinion, I would say Sevilla, really. I would say Sevilla. And I know that might shock a lot of people, but Dortmund are not good at defending. They show that in the Bundesliga. They are inconsistent. Their form is quite bad. And not just that, like comparatively, Sevilla have won 5 on the bounce. And winning, 5 on the bounce in any league is hard, let alone winning it by conceding only 1 goal and, scoring 11 goals in those 5 games. Dortmund lost 2 out of their last 5 and drawn, of course, against Mainz. Their form under Edin Terzic hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been anywhere near good, really, to be fair. Only in the last game against Augsburg, where they returned some of that form. Even against Leipzig, where they won 3-1, they weren't exactly strong for the first half. They came about in the second half. So again, the problems defensively for Dortmund against the Sevilla side that is compact, that is intense, that is very active, works really well. Again, well organized. They don't lose shape that often. And pretty low-key better than Real Madrid and Barcelona. I would say they have chances more than Real Madrid and Barcelona to go deep into that competition. I would say they could do a semi-final here, depending on how the draw is going to help them. But I think they could go really deep in this competition. As far as Dortmund are concerned, I don't see them at the moment past the round of 16, unless they can manage something incredible. But the first game is in Spain, so that is going to be pretty important as a detail. So if Sevilla could manage a big win in Spain, they would go to Dortmund, they would close down, and Dortmund just cannot unlock compact sides. They need spaces. The players that they have, the likes of Sancho and Haaland and Royce and Bellingham and Giovanni Reina, they need spaces to move into, because if they don't find spaces, they will not move. And if anything, Sevilla is not going to give you spaces to move into, and that's really the situation how it's going to be done. So at the moment, I'm going to be locking in a Sevilla prediction, and we're going to revisit, of course, these sort of predictions when I make a proper preview for them on 2 days, really. Next week, hopefully next Tuesday, or maybe the Monday after. Really, I would revisit these predictions. Porto Juve. This is going to be a banana skin for Juve. I'm going to go for a Juve win to go through, really, but it's a banana skin. It could still be very, hard for Juventus. The last time Juventus didn't lose to Porto, it was a draw 0-0 in 2001. So it's been a really long while since Juventus lost to Porto. The last time they met was in 2017, and Juventus, of course, defeated Porto 1-0. It was also the round of 16 of the Champions League. It was 2-0 for Juventus in Portugal, 1-0 in Turin. But I think this Juventus is not exactly that of 2017 Juventus. It is more inconsistent than the Juventus of that time. So I reckon it's going to be a banana skin, and it might be worrying. I'm not saying that Porto are going to make it, but I'm saying that this will be harder than what it looks for Juventus. Atletico versus Chelsea. This is tough. This is tough to even predict. Like, it's going to be tough to predict now. It's going to be tough to predict in the future. So I'm going to be just saying that I slightly favour Atletico to go through. I really do. I really fancy Atletico to go through over Chelsea. Probably the only thing that would give Chelsea any edge is that they find their goal scoring form. And by goal scoring, I mean they found their attackers' form, because if their attackers are going to be having chances and missing them, Atletico are not going to be merciful with you. They're going to be scoring on the other end, because they are as intense and as sharp as ever. They've never been this intense like this season. So I'm going with Atletico, pretty, for the sole reason that they are, again, sharper, pretty intense. They are quicker. They are more open. They're more fascinating, more exciting to watch than usual, which is something you don't say about Atletico. I became excited to watch Atletico Madrid's games in La Liga, certainly the big ones, The games that they had this season against the big sides in La Liga were quite exciting comparatively to what they used to be. They played against Barcelona, it was a great game. They played against Sevilla, it was a great game. Against Valencia, it was an incredible game, an open game. So it's a different Atletico. It's also a different Chelsea, and I think this could be great, and this could really be a good game to watch. And again, I'm standing with Atletico just because they are more intense and slightly more sharp than Chelsea. Lazio versus Bayern. All right, this is where the bias is going to come from, but I'm not going to say Bayern are going to smash Lazio or anything like that. I don't want to be rushing my prediction here. I don't want to be rushing my thoughts. Lazio are not really doing well in the league. They're not exactly in a high spot in this area or something. They are seventh. They are seventh on the table, which is not good comparatively to where they want to be, which is European spots, obviously. They're sixth on the table, not seventh. But, you know, the game against Bayern probably would come at maybe the right time for them, because Bayern are going to be turning from the FIFA Club World Cup straight into the Champions League. So it has to be Lazio taking advantage of the problems in Bayern. Bayern didn't make any moves in January for any players, so their squad maybe is not as deep as possible. A couple of injuries that could happen between now and then. You don't know what's going to be happening in the FIFA Club World Cup. You might lose some players there, but I think, you know, aside from that, I would say it's going to be Bayern. Not as easy as people might think it will, but it's going to be Bayern through. I reckon Lazio are going to be Bayern are going to be too strong for Lazio, and I reckon maybe, you know, Lazio are going to be having two great games. They're going to be making problems for Bayern, but I don't reckon that they go through, really. I don't see that happening. Anyway, Atalanta versus Real Madrid. That is a game that has swinged the other side, really, since the draw has been announced, isn't it? Real Madrid looked like in really great form in December. And heading into the new year, everybody thought, well, this is when Real's going to be picking up, right? This is when they're going to be picking up the momentum. They're going to be picking up the win, the form that they want to. The Champions League is their competition. They will try and stomp their authority there. But at the moment, I can't see that happening. And I can't say that Real Madrid are anywhere near the form they should be when they are into the Champions League round of 16. Atalanta are in a better form. Yes, they just lost against against Lazio, but come on. They are in a better form than Real Madrid. Let's agree all on that. You know, beating Milan 3-0 away from home isn't something easy, and Milan are the top of the table at the moment, and one of the best sides in the Serie A. Atalanta, you know, and even the loss against Lazio, they rotated the squad of sorts. So by the time the game against Real Madrid rolls around, it is going to be some incredible, prospect for them to play Real Madrid, and they can hurt Real Madrid and they can beat it. Like, if a side like Levante dominates Real Madrid and dominates possession and have better chances against them at their own home, imagine what Atalanta could do with the attacking options they have, and the likes of Ilicic, Zapata, and Muriel, and Mateo Pessina, and Malinovsky coming from behind, and Gosens and Hattenboer supporting in the midfield. It is going to be incredible. That midfield battle is going to be terrific, I tell you. Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro from one side, Freuler, De Roon, Ilicic from the other side. It's going to be just incredible to watch. And I reckon Atalanta have a big chance to go through. This is one of those 50-50 at the moment. But I think maybe it will tip slightly over to Atalanta. 51-49, that's what I'm going to say for Atalanta, because that is the reality of things, and that's how bad Real Madrid have been. Borussia Mönchengladbach versus Man City. I don't see Gladbach through. I mean, they defeated Bayern, yes, but I don't see them through. I don't see them having enough strength, certainly not strong of a defense enough to stop Man City. They're going to be missing De Bruyne, Man City, and that is going to be bad for them. But they still have a lot of solutions. They still have the likes of Gundogan, who's blossoming at the moment, taking that spot of De Bruyne. And you're playing with basically no striker, almost playing sort of very moving a very dynamic sort of attack, 3 in the attack, or maybe 4 in the attack. No striker, no focal point. They're still as strong as ever. They're even stronger now in the defense with Ruben Dias, keeping clean sheets and what have you. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be an easier one for Man City than it looks. But I'm still holding hope that Mönchengladbach probably are going to give them a good game at least and, go down swinging. That is what I expect. That's it for me and for this episode. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel most importantly, and enable notifications to receive all the updates. Follow us on social media. I'm at SidePSP on Twitter, page SidePod on Instagram. You can listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. And until next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.